Geordie Journos back again here at Molineux this Saturday evening, where Newcastle United have drawn 2-2, extends their unbeaten run in the Premier League to 6 matches amid a busy fixture schedule. But yeah, Liam, it was a tough game, but Newcastle come away with at least a point.
Yeah, so I put a lot of my thoughts in the little live video that I did straight after the game. We're trying to do that just to give you a little bit of snap reaction. I think Newcastle United left everything out there, much like they did on Wednesday. It's hard to really be critical of the team who've put in so much. With this team, the players themselves, with so little support. I think, as I mentioned in the snap reaction video, I think for me there's got to be questions asked of whether substitutions and the momentum of the game was allowed to flow by the Newcastle United bench. Look, you looked at the bench, it wasn't screaming out, bring me on, the type of players that were on it. It was just anybody fit, you're going to be on the bench today, really. But still, I do feel like there could have been tweaks made to that team just to take the sting out of Wolves, who had started to build a momentum in that second half. I think it was a fair result. I don't really look at the game as 2 points dropped, even though you would normally say that with 2 goals ahead. Weirdly, both Champions League games Newcastle have had, the last 2 anyway, they've followed up with sort of 2-2 draws in winnable kind of away games where they've taken the lead, but are still on the balance of everything. When you all told, that's what we're here for, to analyse it. It's still, you would say, if you look at the scorecard, you look at the result on paper, you would say 4 points dropped. I don't feel like it's 4 points dropped. I think this is a good point. I'm actually thinking, all told, after what went on in midweek, and it might well be calm and quite dry behind me here now, but if anybody has seen that live video, you'll know how bad the conditions were here. It was terrible, much like Wednesday night. And there's a sapping sort of nature of that, playing in the wet, challenging rain, skiddy pitch. I think they've come through a tough week. The problem they've got now is it doesn't get any easier. And it's, for me, Wednesday night, sorry to take it on a bit too much maybe, but Wednesday night, it's a step too far. Newcastle United do not currently have the squad to be able to compete on 3 fronts at any given time. There's only been 3 extra games, but the way I look at the 3 extra games is you've not been playing, it's not like you've been drawn against Rotherham and others, and teams like this. No disrespect to Rotherham, of course, but these kind of, you haven't got Doncaster away in the 3rd round of the League Cup. You've had Man City, then you go to Manchester United. Newcastle have won once since the 70s. It's just tough. Then the level of intensity in the Champions League games, they weren't handed a Braga or somebody like that, which I know they're not. There's no teams that are a given at that level, but to get Dortmund and to get PSG and to have to play AC Milan and Manchester City and Manchester United, it's just like, it's too much. The squad was always going to be tested, and it was probably at the limits of where it could be to cope on 3 fronts. The injuries they've had, some of which have been freak. You couldn't legislate for the ban to Tonali. Yes, you might look at it and say, could X have happened? Could Y have happened? Could more of homework have been done? I'm sure we'll find out more in due course. But it's a freak incident. It's not the kind of thing that happens very often. Jacob Murphy coming on for 10 minutes and falling over and smashing his shoulder and potentially needing an operation. It's a freak accident. It doesn't happen very often. He probably would have played today. And others probably would have came in and give others a rest. They're having to flog the same players. Callum Wilson is going to have to play. Anthony Gordon, who looked out on his feet. The front 6 today put everything into that, and they were all out on their feet after 70 minutes, which is why I turned to that bench and I thought, please just freshen it up. Even if it's square pegs in round holes, we're at a point in the game where we're ahead. We're going into the closing stages. The players were dead out there. They were. But you have his reasons, and I can see a little bit of why you wouldn't just do that and change your momentum. You'd maybe stick with the players out there who are fighting for it, who are in that organised sort of set like they usually are. But yeah, for me, it doesn't feel like too many points dropped. It feels like a point gained. I don't know if that's kind of your thoughts, lads.
Yeah, I think it is a point gained. I think the circumstances in the first half, obviously with the Wilson penalty, was it a penalty? Was it not? It's a difficult one. I think it's a very split decision out there. Even the most honest Newcastle fans might not say that was a penalty. But
So
anyway,
why don't we do that then? Sorry, Jordan, you continue your analysis the same, but why don't we just literally ask, like, do you think it was a penalty? Would you give us a penalty?
No.
I think
You say no, Dom.
No, my feeling on it was if Newcastle get that against them, we're talking and you're having a go at Anthony Taylor.
I'd be devastated.
Yeah.
Like if that was given against Newcastle, I'd be devastated. So
I think
yeah.
I think the fact that on-field decision was a penalty, like VAR didn't really have the bottle to say it was a clear and obvious error. And like, was it a clear and obvious error? Hwang Hee-chan does make contact with Fabian Schär. Again, it's a really contentious one. I asked Eddie Howe about it after the game, and he agreed it was contentious. Gary O'Neill said it wasn't a penalty. He said it was a terrible decision. Again, I don't think it was an awful decision. It was just a really tough one for Wolves.
I think if Anthony Taylor doesn't give that, I don't think VAR look at it again.
Exactly.
So I think because the referee had give it, the question is what comes back to VAR. Is it a clear and obvious error by the referee? No, it wasn't, so it stood.
It's a strange thing to judge things on, though, isn't it? Have you made a big enough error to change it?
Yeah.
Not just, is that right or wrong?
Yeah.
It's one of those that they don't want things re-refereed, but essentially, do we not all just want the right decision? And look, it went for Newcastle United today, but there will be a day where it doesn't. And these things do level themselves up. The fine margins work for everybody. There was a lot of corruption this and corruption that, rubbish coming from the stands here. It wasn't. But it's the same for everybody. You get these decisions, you don't. There'll be any given week when Newcastle United won't get them, and maybe they got one today.
Well, I think that chanting from the Wolves crowd, I think that made it a difficult second half for Newcastle, because they had a penalty peel on the edge of half time, a handball on Bruno. I haven't seen that one back because obviously it wasn't. But that just sort of heightened their anger, the home fans' anger, and
injustice. There was like a sense of injustice, wasn't there?
And that carried through to the second half. And when Wolves equalised, it was some noise. You could feel it was frustration, anger, sort of all piled out onto that equaliser. So I thought Newcastle had to manage the game well. Go back to substitutions. Is one substitution enough? Did Eddie Howe wait 10 minutes later than what he should have for the substitution? It's all if buts and maybes. But what I would say, one about substitutions, he made one today. The questions I have is, again, you've got two fullbacks on the bench, Lewis Hall, Tino Livramento. You've paid, 60 odd million for these two players, put them on. Your team is dead on the feet. Anthony Gordon looked dead on his feet from 60 minutes. Almiron had to come off. The midfield, like your Longstaffs, etc. The whole team tired, and I think you just need that little bit of fresh legs. And okay, they got it in Joe Willock, but could he have made a couple of more changes? But anyway, on that as well, he didn't make the changes, but I would agree it was a good point. And unfortunately, as Liam mentioned there, the Manchester United game, they don't need that game. They could have really done without that game in week. They're going to have to go to Old Trafford now with a patched up team.
Eddie Howe himself has talked about the idea of managing the load of players. Kieran Trippier out there today, to me, didn't just look like somebody who was physically tired. Looked like somebody who was mentally exhausted. Somebody who has just come to the edge of, he's been away on international breaks, he's played for England, he's never stopped. Anthony Gordon, although he had that week here, week there, when, he got the ban, and I know how give him a little bit of time off here and there, but the lad's never stopped since last season. Never stopped. Bruno Guimaraes is starting for Brazil. Goes away, all the travelling that comes with it. Plays every single minute for Newcastle United. There's going to come a point where you push these players too far, and injury crisis becomes an absolute disaster, a catastrophe, because key players will pick up niggles if you're pushing them and pushing them and pushing them. And unfortunately and sadly, it's probably going to have to be that game, in my eyes, where they have to just take what comes their way, and you're going to have to hope that there's some kids who can come in and step in, although he's really reluctant to dip into that 21 squad, even putting 2 keepers and 16 defenders on the bench today. Instead, anybody who could, which is the way he manages. I mean, if he doesn't feel the need to reward, or doesn't like the idea of rewarding kids without justification, without deserving to be there, I get that if that's his mindset. But there's certain question marks. Look, days like this, weeks like this, they're gonna have, and we're always gonna have question marks. It doesn't change much in the broader picture. What it actually does is maybe heighten heighten the senses of those at the very top of the club to say, we've got something good here. We've got a good manager, we've got a good core squad. We'll actually probably need to bring it forward a little bit and strengthen a bit in January and make up for that Tonali loss. Make up for the fact that we needed probably another forward to fill in gaps left, right and centre whenever we need it, and other players as well defensively. So I wonder if it'll just sharpen a few minds and you might see something happen in January to make up for that, because it's going to be a tough few weeks. I'm interested to hear your thoughts, Tom. How do you play? Put your Eddie Howe hat on. You're Eddie Howe now. How do you play Wednesday night? I'm intrigued to know, because I seen you were I could feel you next to us. You're torn on this.
Yeah, because ultimately you've beat Man City with a sort of mixed squad. It wasn't quite second string, but it certainly wasn't full strength. Have you got that luxury on Wednesday night? I'd say you almost have to do it. But you're looking at the Carabao Cup. It's far and away Newcastle's best chance of winning something this season. They've knocked out Man City, far and away the favourites. If Liverpool go and get beat, and you knock out Manchester United, all of a sudden in the quarter-final and just 3 games away from Wembley again, potentially just 2 wins.
With another game in December.
It's more games, yeah, but I think, I don't know, you want to win. You want to win something, and we spoke about the Carabao Cup and what would do to win it on the drive down, and it's fair to say that
you've got to keep this in, right? We've got to keep this in. Yes, keep this in, right?
Put it this way, it would do a lot.
The Geordie journos would,
but these two are willing to sack it off.
Would do a lot to win a trophy, but we'll never. We may discuss this in the future, that what we would do, what we wouldn't do to win a cup. But I hope this makes you guys laugh out there as much as it does us. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there who would do a lot to win a trophy at Newcastle United, or they would give up a lot. A lot of that pride as well. Right. Well, we're not happy, but we're laughing here at Molyneux, and I hope you guys out there as well will take a smile away from this video yourselves. It wasn't the greatest of Newcastle United weeks. It wasn't the greatest of Newcastle United performances, but this squad is fighting and battling, and it almost needs every single one of you guys out there to stand shoulder to shoulder with them and just try and get this team through, especially 8,000 Geordie who's going to be heading to Manchester United in midweek as ever. Right, you guys will have Eddie Howe press conference on Tuesday. We'll know a little bit more. Injuries, doesn't sound like we're going to have any of the players back, potentially only Sven Botman or Louis Miley are the two that kind of haven't got answers, and maybe asterisk is next to their name. But we'll get a little update, I'm sure, from Eddie Howe on that in the week, and the kind of team that he's going to play. Like, comment, share and subscribe. Maybe even put in the comments what you guys would do to win a trophy. Cheers guys.